Hi everybody, my name is Christy Korpstein and this is my first Screencastomatic project for EDL 850 School of Law. My first topic had to do with religious symbols in schools. The first thing that I looked at was our ethics book in Chapter 3 on the religious rights that we have as people. The First Amendment contains two essential clauses regarding religion: the Establishment Clause and the Free Exercise Clause. The Establishment prohibits the state from passing laws that aid a religion or show preference towards one. The Free Exercise Clause prohibits the state from interfering with individual religious freedoms. Public schools need to maintain a neutral matter. Prayer. The book talks about prayer, and the main thing the book says is that it is okay for the students, but the school needs to maintain a neutral stance. So the teacher, the principal, nobody can go about trying to get students to pray. They need to be doing it on their own. Religious symbols is the next thing I saw in the book, and it was talking about the religious symbols at schools. Public schools may not display religious visual symbols or displays at school. Teachers should not use religious symbols or pictures in their teaching. I think that is very important for teachers to know, because if you teach ancient history, a lot of times you're teaching about religion, and if you do not know to not use symbols, then you might make the mistake. No distributing religious materials at school. That just means that teachers cannot want to give religious materials of a certain religion to the students and cannot actually hand them out at school. No celebration of religious holidays. You can celebrate, but you cannot say it is for a certain holiday for a certain religion. It could be like a fall festival or a winter party. You can still celebrate holidays. They just can't be religious. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the religious rights for students. I got this information from the Guidelines for School Officials, Volunteers, and Mentors Participating in Public School Community Partnership. In August 1995, U.S. Secretary of Education Richard Riley, Attorney General Janet Reno, and President Clinton released Religious Expression in Public Schools, a Statement of Principles. They were then modified and released again in 1998 and 1999. The guidelines in this article point out that there are two important obligations of the First Amendment for religious expression. First one, schools cannot prohibit students from expression or acting upon their religious beliefs at school if the student intent is pure. I will talk about this pure, why I put it in here later in the article, because some students were using their religious expression in a bad way. The second thing that you need to know is schools cannot use religious expression against a student and have to give all students equal opportunities to express their beliefs. We cannot, however, encourage any religious activity. The faculty, once again, has to take a neutral stance. But we cannot discriminate if a student is expressing their religion at school. The next thing I found was a video on YouTube that I thought went along very well with the project. And the first part of the video, if you would like to see it, is talking about the religious freedoms of student. But I wanted to fast forward a little bit to the part of the video where it starts to talk about religious symbols. This is an actual teacher who has researched about the rights of students in school and the religious symbols.
You also have the right to wear Christian t-shirts or shirts with Christian messages or symbols. You cannot be stopped from wearing those at school. That is just fine. If anyone tells you differently, point them to the website that I'm going to be giving at the end of this one, where it shows that our constitutional rights allow us to wear those things to school. We cannot be stopped from doing that. Also, you have the right to pray and discuss matters of religion with others at school. They can't stop you from praying. They can't stop you from talking about these things. Again, this is during non-instructional time. So make sure that you're being a good witness to your teachers, not doing this when they're trying to give you a lesson or trying to get you to work. And then also, you are allowed to bring Bibles to school. They can't stop you from doing that either. You're allowed to bring Bibles. You're allowed to read it, again, during non-instructional time. Things that schools and schools officials cannot do. Some things they can't forbid you from doing. They cannot forbid you to speak about your faith and beliefs because of the content. In other words, they can't tell you to stop talking about it because there's something specific in your message that they don't agree with or they don't like. They can't stop you from saying those things. Also, they can't treat you handing out gospel tracts as solicitation. And solicitation is usually just something when people are handing out flyers or brochures or whatever, trying to sell you something or trying to get you to buy something. Tracts, because they're of their religious nature, cannot be treated as solicitation. So they can't stop you saying, oh, you're soliciting, you're trying to sell something. Like, no, this is my religious freedom of expression. I'm allowed to do this. They also cannot keep you from sharing your faith because other people find it offensive. And this is a big one. In our culture, where people are constantly saying, oh, well, that's offensive, or you're being judgmental, or something like that, just because someone else doesn't like the message you're saying doesn't mean they can tell you to stop saying it. Okay? They can disagree with you. They can converse with you about it. That's totally fine, and we encourage that. But they can't say you're not allowed to say that. That is totally within your rights to say it, regardless of what your message is. So I would say go over these points. I'm including a link down here at the bottom to show you the website I got these from, so you can go and review these for yourselves. If you have any other specific questions, I would say check out this website. Also, another great website is the Alliance Defense Fund. It's a group of Christian lawyers who are dedicated to protecting the civil liberties of people who are discriminated against or persecuted because of faith.
I actually did go to this website, and it was a very good resource if you have any questions. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the controversy of religious symbols. I got this information from Ria Zat's article. Her article talked about previous religious cases in school, and I thought that these 4 cases were the most interesting to me, so I wanted to share them. The first case I'm going to talk about is a Welsh girl, Sarika Watkins Singh, who has won the right to wear a religious bracelet to her school, after twice being suspended for refusing to remove it. The second case I'm going to talk about is Lydia Playfoot, a 16-year-old girl. She was ordered out of her West Sussex school last year for wearing a purity ring to symbolize chastity. When she challenged this decision in the court, the judge ruled that the ring was not an essential part of Christianity like the crucifix. The third case, in 2006, a primary school teacher, Aisha Azmi, lost her case for discrimination at an employment tribunal after she was dismissed for refusing to remove her veil in the classroom. Case number 4, in 2005, the Court of Appeals said schoolgoer girl Shabina Begum should be allowed to wear the jilbab, a full-length robe, at Denbigh High School in Luton. However, this was later overturned by the House of Lords. So as you can see, there's controversy going on all around the world with students wearing religious symbols to school and whether the district or people think that it is right or not. Should schools be allowed to ban religious symbols to protect against gang violence? I found this article very interesting because I did not know that there were gangs using religious symbols. I took this article from the Student Voices. It talks about whether schools should ban students who wear gang symbols that are religious symbols. It's easy to ban normal gang symbols, but a little more difficult when it relates to religion. One example of this happening was in Colorado Springs School District. The district found out that students started wearing rosary beads and crosses as symbols of their gang. The school district had to decide whether to ban all the students from wearing these religious symbols at school. This could cause a problem because unless there was evidence that a student was part of a gang, the student had the right to wear a religious symbol under their constitutional right of the First Amendment. One student in Schenectady, New York, was repeatedly suspended for wearing a rosary to school. Eventually, the district stopped banning rosaries. The Supreme Court ruled in Tinker versus Des Moines that students were permitted to wear black armbands in school to protest the Vietnam War, but since school officials are responsible for maintaining an orderly environment, the Tinker justices ruled that symbolic expression can be restricted when it is disruptive or dangerous. So the principals in these recent cases believe that speech restriction applies to rosaries when used as gang symbols. So their solution was, if it is used in a bad way, then they can take it away. In our school, just a little history about my school. Our town was built on a Roman Catholic faith, and I would say about 95% of our families in our town are Catholic, and it's been that way ever since I've grown up. The high school is a private Catholic high school, and the grade school has always been public. Faith is very important to the students here. We had a threat of our school closing down because it was a small community, so we decided to become private. And then we made an agreement with the school district to become a part of them but remain in town. Our name changed from Tipton Christian School when we went private to Tipton Community School. The school was originally Christian, so we had religious symbols and pictures hanging in the school, but when it changed to be a community school and a public school, we had to take these symbols down. Students are allowed to wear religious symbols in the school as long as they're not doing it in a malicious way to gang up or tease other students. Luckily, we have never had this problem that I know of, but doing it because they are expressing their strong faith in their particular religion. We accept diversity at our school and openly support all varieties of religion. Thank you for listening to my project. I hope you enjoyed it.